Let's talk about performance anxiety because this is something that I feel like everyone deals with on a certain level. And some people may feel like, oh, this is something I can never overcome. I'll never be good at performing. And here's to tell you that you are probably wrong. Hi, I'm Anastasia. I'm a flutist, and I'm someone who has dealt with a lot of performance anxiety and has learned a lot of ways to overcome it. You know, when I used to perform, I'd feel so anxious leading up to the performance. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Like, it was just a really intense level of anxiety that I would experience. Somehow in the performance itself, I would actually pull it together and it would appear fine and no one can even tell that I was anxious, but leading up to it, I would have so much anxiety. So I'm here to tell you that it's possible to get better at it. It's possible to decrease this anxiety and you can conquer this. So let's talk about some tips for performance anxiety, some things that have worked for me, some things that I've heard. So the number one thing that really changed my perspective on anxiety, on performance anxiety, is that you're only nervous because you really care about how you play. And I think that in some ways that is a really good thing. If you had no care in the world, if you're like, I really don't care if this goes horribly, then you wouldn't be nervous at all. So being nervous actually means that you care. And I think that that is a really great thing. So, you know, for me, that really helped shift my perspective on performance anxiety. Now, let's talk about what helps with performance anxiety. I guess not with it, but to get rid of it or decrease it. So for me, the number one thing that helps is making sure that I am as prepared as I can possibly be. When I'm more prepared, when I know how the music goes, I can play all the technical passages, I have my musical ideas planned out. Basically, like when I can practically play it memorized, I know that I am prepared. Now, that brings me to my second point. Being prepared does not necessarily mean you will not have anxiety, because there have been so many times that I've been super prepared and still felt really anxious about a performance. The number two thing that has really helped me is breathing. So whenever I'm like sitting in orchestra and I know I have like a big solo coming or something like that, in band, whatever you're in, I will literally just sit there and go like in through the nose. And like, you know, the audience can't see that. I'm very like, you know, not very obvious about it, but I'm just sitting there counting my rests, like just like preparing myself for what's coming. And that for me has really helped because it slows down your heart rate a little bit. So when you're feeling like really anxious or like nervous about something, it's kind of like tricking your body into slowing down and being like, you know, it'll be okay. Because we're hitting that like survival instinct of like, and so the deep breaths. I even know like some people have told me to do like time breathing, like you can do like in for like a certain amount, out for a certain amount. That can also help to really control your breathing, especially as wind players, we need to really be in control of our breathing, right? Now, number three. This is one that has taken me a long time and is still one that I'm working on, is like you have to trust yourself a little bit. So if you're constantly just like doubting yourself and feeling like I'm not gonna pull it off, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna, you know, thinking of the worst case scenario, like I'm gonna do this and in front of everyone and they're gonna look at me and then I'm gonna like be blacklisted or whatever. And then that just like gives you so much anxiety just thinking of the worst case scenarios. So for me, what's helped is like just trusting myself, like, oh, remember last time when I was anxious and then I pulled it all off and it was really great? Then why is this time gonna be any different? Like, why am I feeling so anxious about something when it's literally like I pulled it off last time, right? So like, why is it gonna go horribly this time, right? So not thinking of worst case scenarios, but also trusting that you've done this before and that you can do it and it's gonna be great. That has really helped me as well. Number four. If you go into performances feeling like you have to prove something about your playing or about yourself, that adds such a layer of pressure to your playing, to yourself, to your anxiety. So what I've learned more recently actually is like you're not there to prove anything to anyone. You're literally just there to make music. And I know it sounds like really corny, but that's literally what it is. Like you're just there to play your instrument, to like do what makes you happy, hopefully. And to just like really do your best. If you're there trying to prove like I'm the best flutist or I'm the best musician here, you're putting that pressure on yourself and it's gonna cause you more anxiety. It might cause you to make a mistake or something. So you just go out there and like do your thing. I feel like when I'm performing, I try to just like let go, like not be like super, like, of course you're in control, but if you're trying to like really, you know, stress every little thing, then it's like, it's anxiety. It makes me even feel anxiety like thinking about that. So just like trusting yourself a bit more when you're performing. Number 5, if you're doing all these tips, if you're starting to trust yourself, if you're being really prepared, if you're starting to do deep breathing and all, not imagining the worst case scenarios, then the more that you perform, the easier it will get. And I know everyone always says this, but it's true as long as you're in the right headspace, right? If you're performing and every time you're feeling anxious and, you know, you're not trusting yourself, then you will feel horrible every time you perform. But if you learn something from every performance and then learn to trust yourself, the more you perform, the easier it will get. It really does. I promise. So from one performance anxiety musician to another, you got this, you can do it. All of these little things will help you, and you can definitely conquer this and become better at controlling your anxiety.